Hi grade 11s. Today we will look at some trig graphs. We'll revise your grade 11 trig functions. You can recall that a sine graph looks like this and a cosine graph looks like this, where a tan graph has got some kind of arms like this. Sine graph is continuous as well as a cosine graph, whilst the tan graph is not continuous. You can see that there are charms over there. Now let's look at some of the questions that you may expect in your exams. Suppose here you've got a function f of x equals sine x drawn on a system of x's like this. Then they ask us to answer these questions over here. Here is the first question. It says, write down the period of f. Remember, the period is about the length, right? Some kind of length of the graph, how far it's going. Okay, it must a complete wavelength. You can see that this one here is a complete wavelength. So how long is that wavelength? It's 360 degrees. So the period of this one here is 360 degrees. Write down the amplitude of the graph of f. The amplitude is the distance between the highest value and the lowest value, then you divide by 2. The highest value of this graph is 1, so you've got 1. You subtract the lowest value of this graph, which is minus 1, then you divide by 2, and your answer will be 1 plus 1 on top divided by 2, and your answer is 1, because we've got 2 over 2 will give you 1. Next one. Sketch the graph of g of x equals negative 2 sine x on the same system of x's. Now, you can see that this is sine x, which is same as this sine x over here. But what did they do to this sine x over there? They multiplied by 2, meaning the y values are being multiplied by a minus 2. The y value of this graph, when it's multiplied by 2, you'll get 0. Note that this point over here is 90 degrees is to 1. So if I multiply the y value by minus 2, I'll get a new point which is 90 to minus 2. 90 to minus 2 will be over down there. The y value there is a 0. If I multiply the 0 by minus 2, I will still get that point over there. The y value here is minus 1 because the point here, it is 180 degrees is to minus 1. If I multiply the minus 1 with a minus 2, I will get a positive 2. So this point now becomes 270 degrees. It's 270 from there. So this point, new point now will be, if I multiply that by minus 2, so that will be positive 2. So the new point would be 270 is to positive 2, which is over there. The y value there is a 0. If I multiply a 0 with a minus 2, I'll get a point there. So the points that I have is this point, that point, that point, that point, and the point over there. So the new shape of my graph would be something like this, going up to there and then turning there and then coming down there. So this would be the graph of g of x, which is equal to minus 2 sine of x. Next, if the graph of f is shifted 2 units down, talking about this red graph of ours. So if I shift it 2 units down, I pull it down to 2 units, to form a new graph of h, we've got to write down the new equation of h that is formed. So I'm just taking this red graph, I'm pulling it down by 2 units. Therefore, the new equation that will be formed now would be h of x is equal to, it's the same this graph here, which was sine of x, but I'm pulling it down by 2 units, then I'm saying minus a 2. Let's look at another example. This example, the graph that is drawn is a tan graph. But you can see that although it looks like this one, is like some kind turned down like this. Just as we did this one before, you can see the normal sun graph is like this. Now this new transformation, the graph has been turned like this and also stretched like that. So if we look at the one that we have to do, we're saying that it's a turned graph, but it's been turned like that there. So the equation is f of x equals a tan x. Let's look at the question. The question says, determine the value of a if f of x equals a tan x. Now there's an a there, but the normal graph has got 1 there. So they want us to find out what is the value of a there. To find that a value on that graph there, I want to find the a value. It therefore means I just need to substitute the point which lies on this graph. The point that we are given here is a 45 degrees is to -1. The coordinates of that point there, if I were to write them, it's a 45 degrees is to -1. The x value is 45 and then the y value is -1. So we can do that. So we can substitute. That is the y value, remember. So it's a -1 is equal to a, which I don't know, which is multiplied by a tan of 45 degrees, because x is 45 degrees. There's 45 degrees. Now if you check that with your calculator, what is tan 45? It is 1. So you can check it with your calculator. Let's go there, let's shift there. So there's 10 of 45 degrees, 45, 10 of 45 degrees. The answer is 1. It's 1. So therefore now I've got a -1 is equal to a multiplied by 1. So a times 1 gives you a equals a -1. So my a value is -1. Done. The next question says, give the equations of the asymptotes of f. This graph here has got asymptotes. These dotted lines are asymptotes of this graph. So the graph doesn't touch the asymptotes. They want us to give us the equation. I want you to give us the equation of this dotted line as well as that one. This line here cuts between 0 and 180, that's 90 degrees. So the equation of this line here is x is equal to 90 degrees. The other one is this one over here. It's between 180 and 360. That is 270 degrees. So that's x is equal to 270 degrees. Let's look at the next question here. It says here, the graph of G is formed by shifting the graph of f 30 degrees to the left. So if I take this graph of f and shift it 30 degrees to the left, I'm shifting it to the left by 30 degrees. What happens? They say write down the equation of the graph of G. So we'll have a new equation now. So G of x is equal to, it is this graph here, which was a tan off. Now I'm shifting to the left, there. I open my bracket. Either if you shift to left or right, you must open a bracket there. So it's x. Now if you shift to the left, you must say plus 30 degrees. If you are shifting to the right, you will say minus 30 degrees. So that's it. Sometimes you get problems like this. They can make them complicated, but the basic things you need to know: I'm shifting to the left, is plus 30 degrees. I'm shifting to the right, is minus 30 degrees. Okay, now can you try some of the examples or past question papers from this website, www.brighterfuture.co.za, grade 8 to grade 11 papers, grade 11. TPE paper 2 2013 question 6, TPE paper 2 2015 question 6, the Eastern Cape paper 2 2015 question 7, and the IB paper 1 paper 2 which is from 2013 question 5. I hope that will help.